Isang maalab na hapon mga mag-aaral ng San Emmanuel National High School. Nandito naman muli yung kaibigang guro, Teacher Cyrus, upang pag-usapan ang isang paksang pang-agham. Ang paksang ating pag-usapan ngayon ay tungkol sa physical changes in matter. This topic is intended for week 4 and it has a last from number 1 to number 2. Handa na ba kayo makinig? Tara! After going through these sessions, you will be able to explain the physical changes in terms of arrangement and motion of atoms and molecules. So let us start from our last one. Our learning target is to describe what happens to the particles of water when it is heated and then cooled. Changes during evaporation. When you're boiling water, you can observe that after some time, the amount of water inside the heater or kettle decreases. As the water is heated and the temperature of the water rises, the molecules gain more kinetic energy and they move faster. Pag sinabi nating nainitan yung tubig, mas maraming kinetic energy ang kanyang na-absorb. Therefore, mas mabilis yung kanyang movement. More molecules, therefore, have the energy to overcome the forces of attraction of the adjacent molecules. Ibig sabihin, kapag mas maraming kinetic energy, kaya nilang isurpass, i-overcome kung ano yung mga forces of attraction na sa pagitan nila. So, mas malaya silang nakakamagalaw. These molecules escape to the gaseous phase and that is what we call as evaporation. This evaporation and formation of gas can happen even below the surface of the liquid. When this happens, bubbles are formed, rise to the surface and escape into the air. This is bubbling phenomenon that you see when the water boils. Ibig sabihin, kapag maraming molecules na naiinitan, mas maraming molecules na nakakagalaw, therefore, mas lalong gumagalaw yung molecules na nagkakaroon ng bubbles. These bubbles na nakikita natin is called yung water boiling. On the other hand, when you set aside the boiled water or heated water, after some time, you observe that the water began to cool. Droplets formed under the cover of the container containing hot water. So ang tanong natin, where do these droplets come from? The molecules that escape from the liquid and go into the gaseous phase is called vapor. And in this case, water vapor, the water vapor rises and some molecules touches the glass. The glass is cooler than the boiling water, so some of the heat of the vapor molecules are transferred to the glass, in effect, cooling the water vapor. Ibig sabihin nun, merong transfer of energy or the transfer of heat from the water vapor going to the glass. Ibig sabihin, mas pupunta yung kinetic energy from the water vapor papunta sa glass. Ibig sabihin, mas humihina yung kanyang energy o mas lalong bumababa yung kanyang temperature, causing the water vapor to be cooled. When a gas is cooled, the motion of the particles slows down. If the particles lose enough energy, their attraction for each other can overcome their motion and cause them associate with one another to become a liquid. This is the liquid observed and under the cover of the container. This process is called condensation. Itong condensation na ito yung kabaliktaran ng ating evaporation. Kung evaporation, there is absorption of energy, and condensation naman, there is losing of energy or heat. Now that we are done with the concept and changes in evaporation, we can now do the activity. The title of the activity is What changes take place when water heated or cooled? Direction. Write true if the statement is correct and false if the statement is wrong. First statement. When boiling, the motion of the particles of water gets faster and turns into a gas. Is that true or false? Number 1. When boiling, the motion of the particles of water gets faster and turned into gas. Is that true or false? Number 2. If the particles lose enough energy, their attraction for each other can overcome their motion and cause them associate with one another. If the particles lose enough energy, their attraction for each other can overcome their motion and cause them associate with one another. Is that true or false? Number 3. Adding heat energy to water never affects the motion and attraction of the water molecules. Number 3. Adding heat energy to water never affects the motion and attraction of the water molecules. For number 4, the water molecules gain more kinetic energy when it is heated and temperature rises. Number 4, the water molecules gain more kinetic energy when it is heated and temperature rises. For number 5, the condensation and formation of gas can happen even below the surface of the liquid. The molecules that escape from the liquid and go into the gaseous phase is called vapor. Number 5, condensation and formation of gas can happen even below the surface of the liquid. The molecules that escape from the liquid and go into the gaseous phase is called vapor. Are you done? Very good. You are done with the learning activity sheet number 1. Let us proceed to the learning activity sheet number 2 with a learning target of differentiate, melting, and freezing. Are you ready? Very good. The phase changes. When you put one piece of ice cube on a glass, you have observed that after 15 to 20 minutes, the ice on the glass turned into liquid water. The ice cube which was taken from the freezer is at a lower temperature than the surroundings. It transferred to the water molecules in the ice. This increases the kinetic energy of the molecules, and as the heat transfer continues, the particles gain more and more kinetic energy. Ibig sabihin nun, yung ice kapag iniwan mo sa glass for 15 to 20 minutes, the ice turned into a liquid water. Because kung ano yung temperature na sa surrounding na ice, ina-absorb niya ito. Pag-absorb na ng temperature, meaning to say, yung molecules ng ice nag-gather ng kinetic energy and yung forces of attraction sa kanyang mga molecules naglulusen. Thereby, nagkukos ito ng melting ng ice o nagiging turn into a water molecule. The molecules vibrate faster and faster and at some point have enough energy to overcome the forces that hold them in their fixed places in the solid. Since the molecules vibrate so fast, they break away from their fixed positions. Ang ibig sabihin ko pala kanina is that since they have gained yung ice, di ba may molecules doon na in fixed position because of the temperature o yung kinetic energy na na-absorb niya from the surroundings, nagkakaroon ito ng reaction. Nagkakaroon ng na-overcome niya yung mga forces na para silang magkakadikit. So therefore, mas maraming kinetic energy, mas nagmumove yung mga molecules sa ice. Habang ina-absorb ng ice, yung kinetic energy, naglulusin yung forces of attraction na nakapagitan sa mga molecules. Ngayon, kapag ito ay naglulusen or humihina or nawawala, the ice will turn into a liquid. The arrangement of the water molecules in ice gradually becomes disorganized. The solid where the molecules are in fixed positions turns to liquid where the molecules are freer to move. This transformation process in which a solid is changed to a liquid is called melting. It is the change of state from a solid to a liquid. Ito ay klase ng pagbabago ng isang matter from a solid to a liquid. When a solid is at its melting point, any energy added to it, it is used to overcome the attractions that hold the particles in place. On the other hand, when you put liquid water inside a freezer, the water molecules as a result of which cooling system of the refrigerator removes heat energy. They have less kinetic energy and move more slowly. As more and more heat is removed, and as the molecules move more slowly, the forces of attraction among the molecules cause the molecules to be aligned. As this removal of heat continues, the molecules lose so much energy that they are not able to move from place to place but only able to vibrate in place. In time, the liquid water becomes solid water, which is ice. Freezing is the process in which liquid is changed to a solid. Ito naman yung kabaliktaran kanina. Kung ang melting is a process from solid to liquid, ang freezing naman is from liquid to solid. Removing energy will cause the particles in a liquid to begin locking into place. Now that we are done with the concept of freezing and melting, we can now proceed to the activity. What changes take place when turns into liquid water? Direction. Encircle the letter of the correct answer. I am going to repeat the question twice. For number 1, an ice cube changing to puddle of water is an example of what? An ice cube changing to puddle of water is an example of what? Letter A, melting. B, freezing. C, boiling. D, drying. Number 2, putting water in an ice cube tray and placing it in the freezer will cause the water to blank. Letter A, melt. Letter B, freeze. Letter C, boiling. Letter D, drying. Number 2, putting the water in ice cube tray and placing it in the freezer will cause the water to blank. A, melt. B, freeze. C, boiling or boil. D, drying or dry. Number 3, The addition of heat in ice cream will cause what? The addition of heat in ice cream will cause what? Letter A, freezing. B, melting. C, boiling. And D, drying. Nasusundan po ba? Magaling. Very good. For number 4, a process which changes states from solid to liquid is called what? A process which changes state from solid to liquid is called what? Letter A, melting. Letter B, freezing. Letter C, boiling. And the letter D, drying. A process which changes state from solid to liquid is called what? Letter A, melting. B, freezing. C, boiling. And D, drying. Susundan? Very good. Number 5. What is an example of melting? What is an example of melting? Letter A, water turning into ice. Letter B, chocolate bar turning into liquid chocolate. Letter C, drying of clothes. And letter D, water boiling. Letter A, water turning into ice. Letter B, chocolate bar turning into liquid chocolate. Letter C, drying of clothes. And for letter D, water boiling. Very good. Thank you for watching and listening to our session for today. And I hope marami kayong natutunan sa ating klase. Ayan. Binabati ko nga pala ang lahat ng aking mga mag-aaral sa grade 8. From grade 8 is PJ, Rizal, Bonifacio, and of course, Mabini. Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Ayan. Sa ngalan po ng ating Schools Division Superintendent, Miguel P. Filialan, CESO 6, at ng ating Assistant Schools Division Superintendent, Diosdado Ablanido A. CPA, sa ngalan din po ng ating mga Education Program Supervisors, lalo na po kay Sir Randy E. Porras, at lahat po ng bumubuo ng ating Radyo Tangguyob, especially po sa ating masigasig na School Principal, Martin Indico Diaz, at ang ating Assistant School Principal, Elsa Lamanosa Abid, at sa lahat po ng ating Master Teachers at Teachers Broadcasters ng San Emmanuel National High School. Ako naman muli, Teacher